Oh, welcome back to my channel, sports fans. Okay, let's get into this one right here. What the hell was that? All I can call it was one of the NBA's most embarrassing playoff game sevens, games period, that we have ever seen. One of the most embarrassing games we have ever seen. Whether it's the regular season, the finals, the playoffs, the play-in, the in-season tournament, the preseason, a friendly scrimmage, and guess what? The greatest player of the 2020s, a three-time MVP winner, and a guy that they were saying was better than Kobe Bryant, better than Wilt Chamberlain, better than Magic Johnson, better than Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, better than Hakeem Olajuwon, better than Patrick Ewing, better than Jerry West, better than Moses Malone, better than Dominique Wilkins, better than Karl Malone, because they were saying on his championship run 2 years ago, this guy put up all-time stats and was compared or was told he was better than those guys. And he was basically next to Michael Jordan. I heard this stuff from Scap. I heard this stuff from, even Uncut Hoops, out of all people. I heard it from the media. And, the media at that time had turned into the Joker media, whatever you want to call it. But I'm going to ask you this. I'm going to ask you this right here. And I'm not here to put all the blame on Joker. We're going to get into that in a minute. But the fact is, oh, goodness. This is the era he plays in, right? There's no all-time great teams in this era. This is the era that Joker actually won his championship in, right? This is the era. It never changed. It never changed from when it started in 2020, 2021, 22, 23, 24, and now we're at 25. This is the same era that Joker won in the same era that Joker has lost in. So I don't want no excuses about this and that. This is the same era, and it continues. Now, second of all, I want to ask you, and this should be real easy, right? When we look at OKC, because everything's going to be said about OKC and how good and great and blah, 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 right? And yes, they're a good team. I won't call them a great team. They haven't accomplished nothing. They're not an all-time great team. They're a good team. And they could be a one-year great team if they win the championship. Just like when Joker won the championship, who is going to stop him? We're basically the same cast of foundational characters that he has right now. Who's going to stop? They say this nonsense every year. When somebody wins the championship, who's going to stop Milwaukee? Who's going to stop the Lakers? Who's going to stop Golden State when they won? What was that, in 2021? No, 2022, whatever it was. Who's going to stop Boston when they're just going to repeat and repeat? That's all you hear, man. So they have a chance to win one championship. And hey, the Pistons won one damn championship. You know that Pistons team of the 2000s. They won one championship and went to a whole bunch of. I think they went to 2 finals, and I think they went to a whole bunch of Eastern Conference finals. So what are we talking about, man? You think this OKC team is better than that 2000s, early 2000s Pistons team? Hell no. They haven't proved it. Now let me ask you this question: when we look at OKC, who are the future Hall of Famers on that team right now that you could say this guy is a Hall of Famer based on, future Hall of Famer based on his so far in his career? Who can you say is a Hall of Famer? For example, we would say guys that didn't make the Hall of Fame maybe, 5 years into their career. Let's just say 5 years. You would think that Shawn Kemp was easily a Hall of Famer, a future Hall of Famer, right? You would think that Kevin Johnson, 7-8 years into his career, will be a Hall of Famer. You would think Tom Chambers, about 7 years or less into his career, will be a Hall of Famer. I'm just giving you an example of guys who haven't even made the Hall of Fame yet, but we would think today, or even into those years into their career, that, man, this guy's going to be a Hall of Famer. Now for OKC, who are the guys that, I know it's a couple, young guys on their team. A lot of guys are young and stuff like that, but I'm just asking, if you've seen it right now, who's the Hall of Famers? Okay, I only see SGA as the future Hall of Famer. That's the only guy. And I think it was Jalen Williams who made one All-Star appearance this year. one one All-Star appearance. We know guys that made 4 or 5 All-Star appearances and they didn't make the Hall of Fame. At least 4 All-Star appearances and they never made the Hall of Fame. So what I'm trying to say by that is, when we look at the Denver Nuggets, because we're not just going to go in on this game and start talking ish and start blaming people. We're trying to, you put things in perspective, context before people start crying, because that's all you're going to hear from guys like Scap. Okay, and we'll get to the game in a minute. But they always like to use context and all these numbers and all this stuff, and you ain't going to be able to use that many numbers in this game. But when we look at the Denver Nuggets, yes, we can say Russell Westbrook is a Hall of Famer, but this guy's way out of his prime, right? He's out of his prime. So we'll kind of like exclude him, you know what I'm saying? Because we don't want to use that, against, in this situation. So we see Joker, right? Joker is the only future Hall of Famer on his team for the Denver Nuggets. So what's the problem? What's the problem? I don't get it. What unfair advantage do they really have playing OKC? Why is OKC a much better team? If you got 2 future Hall of Famers on each team, you got one guy who done won 3 MVP, should have won 4, and then is up, he's up for a 5th MVP. You have other guys on the Denver Nuggets with crazy experience on this team. OKC has very little experience on this team. I think they were talking about in this game how OKC had a lot of undrafted players on this team, a lot of guys that came from the G League or something, or D League, whatever the hell that league is called, when they were talking about their bench. This is the era that Joker wants to play in. This is the era that Joker plays in. It's a run and gun era. It's kind of funny that they let them play defense, and Joker is having all kind of problems. On and off, I wouldn't say they were, containing him the entire series. But I just don't think this guy could play in the 90s. If he did play at center position, if he did play in the 90s, I think he would be a power forward. I think he would be better than a lot of power forwards because, he can handle the ball. He can shoot. But the fact is, even though he might be better skilled than a lot of power forwards, I don't know if he could take the butt whooping. I don't think he could take the defense. I don't think he could play the defense. And in this game, Hartenstein and Chet Holmgren barely, I don't even remember them playing on the floor together, did they? But they weren't called upon to stop Joker. And the big thing is, as you can see in some of these series, this series right here, and the last series against the Clippers, I think the game plan is to stop this guy from running the offense. Because it's really dumb that you would let a center run your offense in an era where it's a run and gun offense. And you're basically just handing the ball off to dudes shooting threes, or handing the ball off to guys slashing to the basket. And I guess it's been working. But if that's all you have to do to stop this team, then that's all you have to do. And that's all they did. Stop this fake point guard from running the offense. Very embarrassing for what I would think would be the face of the league by now. If he's the best player in the 2020s and 3-time MVP, very embarrassing for this to happen in the Game 7. And what you call, I guess, a primetime game is all by itself. And we'll talk about Aaron Gordon in a minute. This was really embarrassing for the league, for the 3-time MVP, for the comparisons. that this guy's been getting. I'm not trying to say they lost the game because of him. I'm just saying the way it went down. Because when we look at, the last 2 years when they beat the Lakers 4-1, 4-0, even though they swept the Lakers and it was a gentleman's sweep, the Lakers were pretty much in it at the end of those games. They would really never blew them out, except for maybe like 1 or 2 games. But even in Game 5 and in Game 4, those 2 elimination games or closeout games, whatever, the Lakers were still in it. Let me say this real quick. It's pretty sad that we can't listen to NBA basketball no more. This is the best that ESPN has. Richard Jefferson and Doris Burke. On what many think, because of circumstances, the teams, the matchups, the players, this was going to be one of the most watched NBA games for a long time. And this is the best we have. I know we got Mike Breen, but Doris Burke and Richard Jefferson? Wow, man. ESPN continues to be welfare. See, you can't, what they'll do is they'll keep one good person and the rest of them have to be welfare. They got rid of all the good people to keep these welfare recipients. Well, to hire these welfare recipients. You no longer have, like when you watch the NFL morning, ESPN is like that too on NFL. They brought in, who was that woman? Sam something? Really? We went from Chris Berman. Who is this? Chris Carter, Mike Ditka. Who was else on that morning show? Todd. Is that his name? The black guy. Ooh, that host the show a long time with Chris Berman. Todd, is that Todd Jackson? Who else was on that show? I know Keyshawn was on there. And I know, what's his name? The receiver. He came a little bit late. I don't like him. He's still on the NFL, ESPN NFL morning show. I don't like that guy. All-time great receiver. But as far as anything else, he sucks. But anyways, they had a great panel. And then when Chris Berman retired, you think, okay, we're going to replace him with somebody good. They brought on a woman. And nothing against women, but you're replacing the greatest. I'm talking about, I didn't watch CBS. I didn't watch NBC morning show. It was always ESPN because the panel they had. It was great. But I'm just saying, you're replacing a legend, Chris Berman. Probably the best in the NFL morning show. And you replace him with her? What a joke. I'm like, this is welfare, man. And the rest of the panel just kept getting worse too. So this is ESPN now. Like I said, you can't have a great panel all around. You can only have one good person and the rest is welfare. Just like the halftime show. Who is this? Malika Andrews? Really? Why is all these women hosting men's sports? And then they throw in these WNBA women. It's like, what the hell is going on? And, they keep one good guy, Stephen A. Snitch. And then they got, the big dummy Perk, the fake funny Charles Barkley. Charles Barkley is dumb funny. Perk is just dumb. And then whoever that other weird looking dude is that they got, they just switch people on and off. They brought in Jay Billis to do games and stuff. I love him in college. Great. I love him. But they was just like, if you want to keep your college gig, you got to do NBA too. We don't have enough money to pay good analysts no more. So you'll just do both. It's ridiculous, man. Anyway, let's get back to this game. I'm just saying we can't even watch the game no more. These guys are welfare people. I don't want to listen to them. I don't want to listen to, Cupcake Richard Jefferson, and you got Doris Burke, who is a woman, and then you got Richard Jefferson, who is a woman, and then you got Mike Breen. They keep one good guy. So let's get back to this game. Because I'm just saying, I keep trying because I used to love watching the game, and you can't get no real perspective because these people lie. They just make up stuff that doesn't make any sense. The stuff that they start this stuff. Joker, I forget the phrase, like Joker off time. What are they gonna do? Joker off time. Have you ever heard that? Michael Jordan off time, Charles Barkley off time, Kobe Bryant off time, Tim Duncan off time, Hakeem Olajuwon off time, Patrick Ewing off time. How about SGA off time? Jalen Brunson off time. Okay, because I've never heard it. All you hear is Joker off time. What is this team going to do? So what about when his team does good? What about when he's losing when he goes out? Or they're down when he goes out? And then they're up when he comes back in. This is what I'm talking about, man. You can't watch. Oh my God. I don't get it. Are we listening? They need to put Scap on that play-by-play. This is ridiculous. I never heard this before. Goodness God. How did his team get to a game? His team is that bad, but he got to a game. That's what they're basically saying. They're talking about survive Joker off the court time. So if his team is that horrible, how did it get to a game 7? If his team's that horrible, you're exposing how bad the NBA is. Yeah. Oh my God. It's like you listen to Scap calling these games or something. I don't know, man. Not completely, but in instances like this, you've never heard nothing so dumb in your life. How did they get to the second round then? How was this team hitting clutch shots and, scoring the same, in some of these games, they're scoring the same points as him or more? What they're doing is they're making up excuses. They're making up excuses. And what they're basically trying to tell you is Joker off time means they're not that good no more because they done lost their point guard, their rebounder, and their scorer. Right? And their facilitator. Because that's the way it's like a LeBron effect, right? Basically, everything went through LeBron James. He got to get his 27, 7, and 7. So you weren't really ever playing a real, what do you want to call it? You really weren't playing a real style of offense. You were playing LeBron James basketball. He had to get his 27, 7, and 7, to satisfy his stats. And then after that, we can win or we can lose. So you weren't really playing in the system. You were playing in LeBron's system, and now you're playing in the Joker system. So basically, when Joker goes out, can you survive Joker time because they don't know what the hell to do? Because this guy always has to get his stats. In the system has to go through him. Which I said before, is this what you really want to do? Is this the style of offense you really want? I don't know. I guess it works sometimes. And let's just say it worked one time when they beat an 8th seed Miami playing team. And like I said before, is that worse than the bubble championship? Because the Lakers, they beat a 5th seed Miami Heat team. So let's get to Aaron Gordon. I was trying to slow this thing up as much as I could, but the Aaron Gordon thing was no factor. Aaron Gordon had nothing to do with this game. If Aaron Gordon would have played, if he would not have been hurt, I don't know. They would have lost by 20-15. Maybe they would have set them down in the fourth quarter with 6 minutes to go. Either way, it would have been a blowout. Either way, it would have been a blowout. Aaron Gordon's injury had no factor in this game whatsoever. To me, I think it backfired on him. And you guys know how I think. And you guys know what I'm going to say. Let me rephrase that. I think the fake injury, and why would I say fake injury? Just to be saying something? Did you hear about an injury in Game 6 in the fourth quarter when the game was over? We just heard about it yesterday. When did this happen? In practice? And it reminds me of when the Celtics fumbled that ball at the top of the key. And I think they were down by 8 with like 4 minutes to go. And all the momentum was already going to New York. And Boston fumbled that ball. And Tatum knew he wasn't going to get that ball. And that was a breakaway dunk. And he kind of like lunged at it. And he said, oh, my Achilles. Yep. And why I say that is because they knew they were up against it. They knew they were up against it. So no matter what, they could say they won despite the injury, or they could say, hey, Aaron Gordon was too messed up. That's why we lost. But what I'm saying, why it backfired, the fake injury, in my opinion. Sorry, I'm not going to go with the rest of the media. I don't do that. That ain't the world I live in. That's the world, a lot of these other guys live in that think everything is on the up and up in this world. And everybody is just kind. Everybody's nice. Everything is fair. Everything is truthful and all this nonsense. So that's what I'm saying. It backfired in our face because it became a non-factor. They were, even if Aaron Gordon was healthy, they was going to get the brakes beat off of him. They still would have lost by 15, 20. So to me, the Phantom fake, and check this out. When you watch the pregame show with Big Dummy Perk and, Stephen A. Smith and all this, they said, and I was watching that, I think it was on NBA TV, another pregame show, they were talking about this was like so severe. It wasn't a great too, but they were saying they couldn't, why risk this guy's career, sit him out, he ain't gonna be of no help, blah, 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 blah. They said that on both shows. And then to come find out at the last minute, they said he was gonna play on the ESPN pregame show. And I said, okay. So I see him out there, he started out, he wasn't Aaron Gordon-ish, but he didn't look like a guy that was hobbling around, that it was that bad. But anyway, we'll just get off. They gonna get beat regardless. The way they got beat, this had nothing to do with Aaron Gordon. Aaron Gordon could not save the day of what happened. If Aaron Gordon came out there and scored 25 points, they still would have lost. If Aaron Gordon would have came out there and grabbed 10 rebounds, 25 points, and played some type of defense, they still would have lost. Now all of a sudden, Jamal Murray is sick. This is what I mean, guys. This is exactly what I mean. Jamal Murray is sick. And this is this era I keep talking about. There's nothing fair. There's no real competition where you can play a team straight up. It always has to be a guy got injured. He's out. He was sick. It's always the most ridiculous thing you ever heard of. It's crazy. But these guys are supposed to have the best medicine, the best nutrition, the best workouts, the best every damn thing. But these guys are always sick, injured, having all kind of, what is this called that Lame Time had? And then Victor Wembanyama had it. It's like, come on, man. These guys are so ridiculous. So for Joker, he had 20 points. Could he stayed in the game and, fourth quarter, played the fourth quarter and got 5 more points, 8 more points? Maybe so. But the Joker was a non-factor throughout 3 quarters. I mean, he had some moments, but for the most part, he was complaining. And look, I'm not trying to say he didn't get fouled, but I don't know. If he's a center, he's got to start fouling them back. He got to start playing defense back. This guy got posterized. The breakaway dunk, he got posterized. And I'm just saying, you got to play some type of defense back to where you're like, okay, I'm gonna be physical with them. Don't call it on me if you ain't gonna call it on them. So I didn't see him doing that. I'm not gonna try to say he didn't get fouled. And I think he did a couple times, no doubt about it. But what I told you before, and I told you yesterday, and I told you earlier today, for me, with the Aaron Gordon thing, I said he would have to put up a 50-point game in a loss to make me happy. He didn't even reach 30 points. He didn't even reach 25 points. And I don't know. I think he only took 9 shots. So what are we going to hear now? Are we going to hear he needs a super team? He needs Greek Freak? So you need 2 top 75 players or 2 future Hall of Fame players guaranteed. Combined, that will be, as of right now, 5 MVPs. 2 championships. No telling how many All-NBAs. To be OKC, who has maybe 1 MVP coming up in a future Hall of Famer. I just find it strange that he was able to beat 2 top 75 players who were both all NBA. One was all NBA defensive. One is supposed to be the one or second best player of all time. The other one, well, both of them were other teams' number one franchise players. He was able to beat them. And you know, Reeves was on that team 1 year, well, both years. And now he needs to be OKC, another team's number one franchise player. Because last time I checked, Anthony Edwards doesn't have another team's number one franchise player. You know, is it karma? They fired the head coach. To me, I'm going to tell you the truth. OKC was just a better team. When Denver beat LA 2 years in a row, Denver didn't have two top 75 or two guys that made all NBA and one guy that made all NBA defensive team. Denver was just a better team. It's just the facts. A lot of times, another team is just a better team. When Portland, when was that, 1990? When Portland beat the Lakers that year to go to the finals, guess what? It wasn't that Portland had overall better players than the Lakers. They were just a better team. What about the Mavs when they beat the Heat that year in the finals? You think the Mavs had better players? No, the Mavs were just a better team. It's just like that sometimes. A lot of guys, they will make up excuses for, some players, and they will tell you in other instances, this team or this guy just had more heart. He was able to will, this team to a win. And we've seen it with Miami. Miami went to the finals. They didn't win the finals. Win the championships when they played the Lakers and they played Denver. But they were just a better team in those series for those years. And they had a stronger will. They were more gritty, more scrappier. We see that with the Knicks. Nobody really thinks that the Knicks, guy for guy, is better than Boston. But stuff happens. The same thing with the Cavs. But, in this instance, OKC is just the better team. It has nothing to do with, they got all these Hall of Famers and all-stars and stuff like that. They're just a better team this year. They're no all-time great team. They're no all-time one single season best team of all time. They haven't proven that. They ain't proved that. We've seen teams be good in the NBA for like years. For like 4 or 5 years and never win a championship. Or be good for 4 or 5 years and only win one championship. Yep. So to me, Joker's legacy is what it is. He plays in an era where everything is like inconsistent. Players are inconsistent. Teams are inconsistent. You kind of look at the rise of his career as far as, his greatness and the rise of him, being good or great, whatever you want to say. It started late. And I tell people all the time, we heard of all-time great players when they first came in the league from, we knew who this guy was. We knew who this guy was. We knew who this, we knew who Hakeem was when he came in. We knew who Kareem was. We knew who Wilt was. We knew who Shaq was. We knew who Alonzo Mourning was. You could just go on down the list, man. Even if they was coming from high school, we knew what these guys were, what they brought. They had these expectations, all this type of stuff. When did we, I think Joker came in 14, 15. I don't know, man. We never heard this guy until like 1920 or something like this. And, and I'm not trying to hate on that. I'm just trying to say, I think not trying to say he's not great, all-time great, but he kind of got good to me in the 2020s because the era is weak. It's weak. It's a weak era. The teams aren't consistent. They don't play any defense. I'm not playing defense on you. I'm going to let you get this big paycheck. Don't play defense on me. Let me get my stats. We're going to get these big paychecks. So they don't want to play defense. And a lot of inconsistencies comes from the style of play that they play in this era. You're watching these games and you're wide open right there at the mid-range. And you're like, dude's on an island, like scared to death, like he's seen a ghost. Because he's sitting there right in the mid-range, wide open. Or he drives to the mid-range and he poops his pants. Ain't no way I'm gonna shoot. What is that? So he'll kick it out to a dude who's open, ain't open, throw the damn ball out. They'll do whatever they can not to shoot that mid-range shot. That was like automatic back in the day. When I watched basketball, 80s, 90s, 2000s, that's an automatic shot. That's an automatic bucket right there in the mid-range. You basically couldn't even be on the court if you couldn't shoot a mid-range. Whether you was a center, forward, power forward, guard. And you know why they don't want to shoot the mid-range? Because you got to have a touch. You got to have touch on your shot. Three-point shot is more like a power shot almost. And if you don't believe me, you got to ask yourself why these guys ain't shooting these balls wide open in the mid-range. And ask yourself, when they do shoot it in the mid-range, why do they break it up? So what I'm trying to say, this is the only style they want to play. Is kick it out 3, 3, 3, 3. They don't know how to play any other style of basketball. Therefore, the way it's played, 3, no D, and what else? Pick and pop. They don't play pick and roll to the basket. That was big back in the day. They played pick and pop at the three-point line. So this is what they play. So anybody can be good at this style of game. It takes no fundamentals. Everybody thinks they're a shooter when everybody's not a three-point shooter. It's the most ridiculous thing you've ever seen. So that's your parity. It's not parity because teams are good. It's parity because teams aren't good. Anybody can win in this style of basketball. This is not the style of basketball or basketball that was taught from the beginning. All the way until, I would say, I think they started to play this more than 210s. And then it just got out of control. You got guys who ain't even real basketball players, man. They ain't real basketball. Porter Jr. just sitting at the three-point line looking crazy. Just stepping forward, stepping back. Dude don't play no defense. So you're making what is the guy making? 30-something million a year to break it up? And that's why I tell you guys, I'm not scared to say it. Maybe they're scared to say it on their platforms because they want to make some money. I don't care. And they want to get views. But they're working 9 hours in a week. 3 games in a week. And they play 3 hours a game. And they're making 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60 million. And this is what Porter Jr. and guys like this is giving you? This is worth 30 million? This is worth 10 million? A guy who don't even come off the damn bench the whole time? A guy who plays like 5 minutes a game? You're making 5 million? You're making 10 million? Yeah. Goodness God. And then some of these starters, you're scoring less than 10 points a game? 10 points a game? That's worth 30 million? I'm saying, they get paid just to shoot three-pointers. They don't get paid to play defense, fundamentals. They can carry, they can travel, they can cuss out refs. There's really no real coaches. I'm just saying, this is the era that Joker plays in. So his fans can expect him to win championships. Yes, he can outplay everybody in the regular season because it looks like nobody don't give a damn. That don't matter. Because once you get to the playoffs, you remember he was number 4. Is he really supposed to? What was Timberwolves? 6. Yeah, Timberwolves number 6. Lakers was number 3. Yeah, to tell you how fugazi this era really is. So let me get off of here. So for Joker, he is what he is, man. He might be top 15 to me. He's no top 5 center. And that's it, man. He's still, people try to put him over Wilt. You're out of your mind. He still only got 1 championship. I don't care about his help because you can't talk about his help when he won basically with the same help. You can't talk about his help when he took this team to Game 7. You can't talk about his help when there's no all-time great teams that he's going against. Nobody talk about Michael Jordan's help. And he need a Hall of Fame player. Nope. Dude just got good. I mean, that's just how it is. Because Michael Jordan demanded it eventually that these guys get good. You know what I'm saying? So you can't always cry when and Michael Jordan had to go against fierce competition. Where's the fierce competition that Joker's going against? There ain't no fierce competition. If you told me these teams he was going against, Boston won 2 championships, OKC won 2 championships, the Lakers in the 2020s won 2 championships, any team in the 2020s won two championships. You can't. Ain't no team in the 2020s set the all-time greatest record of all time. Nope. He beat 2 top 75 players 2 years in a row. 2 years in a row. The first and second greatest player of all time in the top 75 player. Both All-NBA, one All-NBA defensive. So I don't want to hear about no help. Anthony Edwards beating Kevin Durant, Booker, and that other bozo on Phoenix. Basically by itself. I ain't saying by itself, but who's other future Hall of Famer he had on his team? Don't say Rudy Gobert. And it's where we are with this era. Joker, all-time great player, but he's gonna fall in line. Like to me, get further back. Because now we're talking about 3 MVPs in the weakest era of all time. Now, if he was leading the league in scoring, a few times, leading the league in rebounding a few times, stuff like that. But other than that, he don't put up stats. I don't know who led the league in scoring this year. I thought it was SGA. I don't know. Maybe he does got a statistical title this year. I'm not for sure. Just saying. Shut down Joker. That's gonna be it right there. Shut down Joker. A good team, and that's it. Make his team hit all the shots. Shut him down. I don't mean shut him down from scoring. Shut him down from running the offense. Shut him down. Yep. You make LeBron James have a bad game. Back in the past, and then guess what happens? A lot of times his team don't know what to do. He always had to have the ball in his hand, or stop him from driving, dare him to shoot. Remember, he's got to have his points. He got to get his stats. And guess what? Now he's out there shooting. And he's breaking it up. And now you're going to win. Because he's going to take the most shots. That's why you got to always get a super team. Because, it can't fall back on just one guy's shoulder. You got to get another superstar. Just in case. So I don't know what to say, man. This is the NBA that Joker plays in. He is what he is. And it's this NBA right here. So tell me what you think.